March 24th, 1944. A moonless night. The air bites with the kind of cold that freezes hope. Somewhere in the forests of Nazi Germany, 76 men are about to vanish. Not into thin air, but into the earth. You've heard of prison breaks. But this was a war within a war. A game of life and death played under the noses of the Third Reich's most ruthless officers. And by dawn, it would force Hitler himself into a rage so violent, it would stain history with blood. Imagine a prison designed by monsters, barbed wire coiled like snake nests, guard towers manned by sharpshooters with orders to fire at shadows, floodlights so blinding they turned night into day, and beneath it all, sand. Not ordinary sand, golden, shifting, screaming sand. The kind that crumbles tunnels and buries men alive. Stalag Luft III wasn't just a camp, it was a tomb for the Allies' best minds, pilots, engineers, inventors, men who'd outsmarted death in the skies only to be caged like animals. But in Hut 104, a man with a scarred face and a vendetta was already plotting. RAF Squadron Leader Roger Bushell, codenamed Big X, had a plan so audacious even his own men thought it was suicide. 3 tunnels, he said. 3. They'll never suspect it. Tom, Dick, and Harry. 3 tunnels, each 30 feet deep, stretching over 300 feet through that cursed sand. But how do you hide 200,000 tons of dirt from the Nazis? How do you forge papers, sew civilian clothes, craft compasses from phonograph records? And how do you keep 600 men silent when one cough, one whisper could get them all killed? The answer: a secret society, a shadow army, the X organization. Every man had a role. Penguins shuffled dirt from the tunnels into the camp, sprinkling it through hidden pouches in their trousers as they walked. Tailors stitched German uniforms from stolen blankets using threads pulled from socks. Forgers replicated Nazi stamps using melted boot heels and ink made from crushed pills. Even the cooks were spies, bribing guards with Red Cross chocolate for scraps of intel. A man named Tim Wallen ran the forgery unit, crafting 400 documents so flawless they fooled Gestapo agents. Another, Desmond Plunkett, drew maps on cigarette papers, memorizing every back road to Switzerland. But the tunnels. The tunnels were masterpieces of desperation. Engineers rigged wooden bed slats into ladder rungs. Stolen milk tins became shovels. A stolen air pump, cobbled together from hockey sticks and a knapsack, pushed oxygen through hollowed-out kit bags. And the sand. The sand was their curse. Every inch of progress meant reinforcing walls with stolen boards. Every foot dug risked collapse. Men worked in shifts, shirtless, sweating in the claustrophobic dark, passing dirt back in soup tins tied to ropes. One wrong move, and the walls would swallow them whole. Then came the crisis. Tunnel Tom, the first hope, collapsed. Nazi guards stumbled upon its entrance during a surprise search. For weeks, the prisoners held their breath, waiting for executions. But Bushell's genius was redundancy. "Switch to Harry," he ordered. Harry, the backup tunnel hidden beneath a stove in Hut 104. But Harry had a fatal flaw. It ended 30 feet short of the forest. Escaping men would have to crawl, belly to the earth under the guard towers. In the open, with searchlights sweeping the snow. Digging. Harry was a descent into madness. The air grew thinner. Men fainted mid-shift, dragged out by their ankles. The ferrets, Nazi guards trained to sniff out escapes, patrolled day and night, prodding the ground with steel rods. To muffle sound, prisoners staged chaotic volleyball games above the tunnel. They built a wooden vaulting horse to hide diggers during daylight. But the sand, it betrayed them. One day, a collapse buried a Canadian pilot named Wally Floody alive. They dug him out, coughing blood, and kept digging. By March 1944, Harry was ready. But the Nazis had moved the camp's perimeter fence. The tunnel now ended beneath a guard tower. Escape meant crawling through snow, under the boots of armed SS men. Bushell didn't hesitate. "We go tonight," he said. The temperature, minus 20 degrees Celsius. The ground, iron hard, perfect for silence, deadly for survival. March 24th, the night of the escape. Freezing fog blankets the camp, perfect cover, or a death sentence. The first man emerges from Harry, then the second, the third, but the tunnel's too slow. The air pump fails. Men faint from lack of oxygen. Others panic as the walls tremble. Above ground, Big X paces, counting the minutes. Every 10 seconds a man must exit, but the queue stretches for hours. Only 76 make it out before disaster strikes. A guard spots the 77th man. The alarm sounds. Searchlights tear through the dark. Men still in the tunnel claw backward, desperate. Above ground, escapees sprint into the woods. Some have maps painted on handkerchiefs with dye from stolen radio parts. Some wear suits stitched from German uniforms, dyed black with ink. All have a 50-mile walk to freedom, through the heart of Nazi Germany. But freedom is a mirage. Trains are watched, roads are blockaded, farmers betray them for rewards. A Norwegian pilot, Jens Miller, boards a train to neutral Sweden, his forged papers sweating in his grip. A Dutchman, Bram van der Stook, stows away on a freighter, heart pounding as sailors pass inches from his hiding spot. But most aren't so lucky. Of the 76 escapees, 73 are recaptured. Hitler demands execution, a bullet to the neck for every man. But even the Nazis fear the world's outrage. They compromise. 50 men, 50 bullets, 50 unmarked graves. The Gestapo leaves their bodies in fields, burns their clothes, erases their names. But they couldn't kill the truth, because this wasn't just an escape, it was a message. You can lock up soldiers, but you can't cage the human spirit. Roger Bushell's body is dumped in a roadside ditch, but his plan? It worked. 3 men slipped through the net. Their intel exposes Nazi secrets, troop movements, factory locations, U-boat routes, and the rest, they force the Nazis to waste 50,000 men hunting them. Men who could have been fighting on the front lines. This was the escape that changed the war, and it was all done with spoons, sardine tins, and a courage that still burns in the dark. In 1947, a war crimes tribunal dug up those 50 unmarked graves. The killers stood trial. The world learned their names. Johannes Post, Erich Zacharias, men who pulled triggers and slept soundly. But history forgets monsters. It remembers the 76th, the men who turned bed slats into ladders, who melted chess pieces to mold buttons for civilian suits, who whispered maps into the dark. Today, Stalag Luft III is a museum. The tunnels are gone, filled with concrete. But if you listen closely, you can still hear the ghosts of shovels, the echoes of men who chose to dig rather than kneel. The next time you think something's impossible, remember the 76. The men who dug graves to cheat death, who turned soup tins into weapons, who proved that even in hell, hope is a shovel, and dig deeper.